He's
Go,
here,
he's
he's here.
Pick it up.
Oh
Take
my
it,
goodness.
take it.
I got his
Oh,
water.
did you get
Shoot
it?
him.
Nice.
Shoot him. Kill him.
He's gone. He's dead.
What you just saw was the clip that made me think something was up. It just seemed too perfect to me, too crazy and too lucky. I did some research and testing after that video came out and came to the conclusion that it was fake, but I never did anything about it. I just figured other people would have thought that it was fake too, right? Well, time went on and no one really said anything. Some people called them out, but they weren't nearly as in-depth as I had wanted, and they were even calling things fake that seemed pretty real to me. That's why I'm only going to be looking at one segment in one video, the one I showed you earlier. Before I get into my evidence, I just want to say this. I'm not coming after Dream. This isn't some vendetta I have against him. I just saw something that didn't sit right with me, so I looked into it. And if Dream is allowed to call people out, then so am I. Dream, if you're hearing this, I mean no disrespect to you. If I'm in the wrong here, then I'm sorry. To everyone else, to all the Dream fans listening, please just listen to what I have to say. Please try to refute my claims, but just do it with more than "you're wrong" and "your mic sucks." I have 3 categories of evidence. I'll start with the thing that first caught my eye, which is the horses. So, horses were not in the area when he first started pillaring up to make the portal, as you can see here. But when he jumps down, there are 3 horses. So, how did they get there? Well, there are only 3 ways that those horses could have gotten to the bottom of the pillar. Option 1, the horses spawned when the chunks were generated and they wandered over. Option 2, the horses spawned after the chunks generated and are just random passive mob spawns, which is actually the way Dream suggested they got there. And option 3, they were spawned in manually using either spawn eggs or commands. Option 1 and 3 are the only possible options, and I'll explain why. When a world is created, the seed dictates everything in that world, including initial animal spawns. Just like how the seed tells the game to create a tree in a certain place, it also tells the game to create a herd of animals in a certain place. If you recreate the world using the same seed, the tree will still be there, and so will those animals. So when new chunks are generated in the world, the game checks the seed to see what it should put there. If the seed tells it to put a new tree or animal herd, then it will. Those kind of animal spawns are a bit special. Even if the passive mob cap is full, they will still spawn because it's what the seed calls for. It's how you can still find animals spawning in your world when you go out to explore, even if you have a massive cow farm at home. The mob cap part is especially important. The game can have 10 passive mobs spawned at once. Any more than that, and it won't try to randomly spawn any more. If it has under 10, then the game will try to spawn more until it reaches that limit. Looking around the area they have loaded, and excluding the horses, there doesn't seem to be 10 mobs, but you also have to consider the spawn chunks. The spawn chunks are a 10 by 10 chunk region of the game that are always loaded. And yes, animals in the spawn chunks are always loaded as well. There is no way there are under 10 passive mobs loaded with the area they're in right now and the spawn chunks combined, meaning those horses could not have naturally spawned. That's not even taking the horse spawning mechanics into question. Horses spawn in packs of 2 to 6. They only spawn in plains and savanna biomes, meaning they can't spawn in this dark oak forest over here. Seeing as there are no nearby savanna biomes, these horses would have had to spawn in the plains biome. So since we've already ruled out the fact that these could have been random spawns, that means they would have had to have spawned with the chunks when they first loaded. The problem with that is we see Dream running through the area before, and the horses aren't there. Now yes, it is completely possible that they spawned with the chunks, and he just didn't include that part where he ran past them. He could have cut it out, but what doesn't make sense is the idea that they wandered over. The pillar is located in a very narrow part of the plains biome. You can see everything is surrounded by a dark oak forest. We know, based on the footage of Dream pillaring up, that the horses weren't there before. This means they had to have spawned in the much more expansive area behind him and wandered over. The issue with that is that it's just too unlikely. You're telling me 3 horses from possibly over 100 blocks away just wandered over to the pillar? Look at the other animals nearby. They were all there when he started pillaring up, and they're still there when he jumps off? They didn't walk hundreds of blocks, but these horses did. There's one final nail in the coffin for the horses. They just don't spawn in groups like that. We can see that there are 3 horses. A chestnut with no markings, a chestnut with black dots, and a flaxen chestnut with no markings. When a herd of horses spawn, they do so in their color group. That means the game spawns 2 to 6 white horses, each with random markings, or it spawns 2 to 6 chestnut horses, also with random markings. It works like that for all 7 horse colors. What doesn't happen is a herd of randomly colored horses spawning. You won't get a white horse, 2 brown, and a dark brown. They'll all be the exact same color. The horses at the bottom of the pillar are chestnut and flaxen chestnut, 2 colors. This could not have been a pack that spawned here. At the minimum, it had to be 2 packs that spawned at separate locations, and then 3 of those horses decided to all meet up at the pillar, which just seems incredibly unlikely to me. Let's recap. The horses cannot be natural spawns trying to fill up the mob cap. That is 0% likely. That is impossible. The likelihood they spawned with the chunks and wandered over? It's still possible they really did spawn like that and just wandered over. But those odds are so astronomically small that it might as well be 0. That leaves us with only one option remaining, that they were manually spawned in by hand. Next, I want to look at some odd behavior regarding how Dream interacted with the Nether portal. My hypothesis is Dream knew he was going to leave the Nether by landing on a horse, so he deliberately avoided all ways to get out of the Nether that didn't involve leaving that exact portal. In his analysis video, Dream says he was expecting a fight when he left the Nether portal.
I was expecting them to be on the other side, ready to fight me.
This proves he was at least expecting something on the other end. Keep this in mind, as it makes a lot of his other activity in the Nether suspicious if you assume he wants to avoid a confrontation. Dream has a flint and steel on him 100% of the time in the Nether. If he has enough obsidian, he can make a new portal wherever he wants. Dream finds 3 diamonds in a Nether fortress chest. Instead of making a pickaxe to mine his old portal and rebuild it somewhere else, he makes a sword and a shovel. Even after making the sword and shovel, Dream barters with piglins. In 1.16.1, which is the version the video was recorded in, piglins have a 9.43% chance of giving the player 1 piece of obsidian when bartering. We know Dream knows this because while bartering, Dream actually gets obsidian, and he throws it away. You can see it in a junk pile while he's mining gravel. See how it's floating with all the other stuff? Piglins don't throw into piles. Dream himself put that obsidian there with all that other junk. 9.46% doesn't seem like a lot, and Dream probably doesn't even know the bartering percentages for obsidian because why would you? But Dream has a lot of gold on him when he starts bartering. How much? Well, he has 40 ingots, 5 blocks of gold, and 62 golden nuggets. Altogether, that's 91 ingots with a few nuggets left over. When Dream makes it back to the overworld, he opens his inventory and shows he has no gold left, meaning he probably bartered all of it away. While yes, piglin bartering is based on RNG, and there's always the chance that even 91 ingots wasn't enough, the Nether is filled with gold ore now. All he would have to do is mine the ore, which drops nuggets, craft it into ingots, and keep trading. He doesn't even have to use the original portal at all. The 3 diamonds don't even need to be used to make a pick. If he gathered enough gold, he could keep trading until he gets 10 obsidian, walk a few hundred blocks away, rebuild the portal, and the hunters would have no idea he's even in the overworld until they try the compasses again. Even if they did that, he's now 8 times the distance in the overworld. What's telling though is Dream doesn't even bother with using the obsidian. He just throws it away, as we've already established. And as we already know, Dream is expecting a fight when he comes out of the portal. Why wouldn't you just play it safe and make a new portal? There's no way that didn't cross his mind the first time he picked up that obsidian. Lastly, I'd like to point out some suspicious things that Dream did that don't really fit into the 2 prior categories. There is a suspicious cut right before entering the portal. This could have been done to mask failed attempts by trying over and over until he got a successful attempt. This is just like how splicing works in speedruns. Although it could be due to eating. His hunger bar is low, and the jump could have just been to mask the eating. We never get a look at chat during the video. This could have been helpful in proving if anyone entered creative mode, i.e. to spawn the horses, or if, Dream teleported back into the Nether to try again, but we can't look at that. And lastly, this is probably the biggest one. Dream claims in his analysis video that the only reason he knew that horses require an empty hand to be ridden is because he was testing striders.
and you can't ride an untamed horse unless you don't have anything in your hand. And the only reason that I remembered this tidbit of information is because I was testing the striders, like just before this recording on a single player world. I was testing how to jump onto a strider because I thought I might have to jump onto a strider. And so just instantly I thought, just drop what I'm holding in my hand because I have to have an empty hand in order to jump on the horse.
This makes no sense at all. You can't ride a strider at all unless it has a saddle. Having something in your hand has no bearing on whether or not you can ride it. Once the saddle is on, it doesn't matter if you're holding something or not. You can ride it. Nothing about strider mechanics would have taught him that you need an empty hand to ride an untamed horse. And that's it. That's all my evidence. Do I think it was faked? Well, the cut does seem like a pretty convenient place to splice clips at, but I think the better word would be staged. I think what happened is before the recording started, Dream told the hunters how he planned on getting out of the Nether. That was just some event that he knew he wanted to do in the video. One of them probably spawned the horses and then let him know they were ready for him once he was about to leave the Nether. That cut might have been to mask them confirming everyone was ready. Well, there. You made it to the end of the video. Did I convince you? If you think I made enough good points, try to get this video to Dream's attention. And Dream, if you're watching, I want to see the full, unedited clip of your Nether escape. Really the whole video, if possible, but I know the file size would be massive. I want to see if I can find those horses in the plains biome. I want to see what you cut before you entered the portal. But really, I just want the truth.